This episode of Because Science is brought to you by Audible.
How confident are you that this is reality? Given the rise of technology that can resolve better and better images and interactions to feel more and more like real life, some tech experts and philosophers and even Elon Musk think that there's a very good chance that this isn't reality. It's a simulation. And I'm gonna try to convince you they might be right. My favorite recent example of the simulation theory is in the fantastic show Rick and Morty. In one episode, aliens simulate environments and even whole people in the hopes of tricking Rick and stealing his formula for concentrated dark matter. The idea is that, if properly simulated, Rick wouldn't be able to tell the difference between what is real and what isn't. Rick could tell the difference, but could we? Now, if I, for example, suddenly looked like a Rick and Morty me,
you'd instantly be able to tell that something was up.
But since I've always looked like this to you, like a human person, how can you really tell that I'm not a simulation? The short answer is, you can't. One of the more famous arguments that philosophers have among themselves about this is called Zhuangzi dreamed he was a butterfly. Zhuangzi was an influential 4th century Chinese philosopher, and one day he dreamed he was living the life of a butterfly without a care in the world. But when he awoke, he realized that there was no way to tell if he was dreaming the life of a butterfly or if the butterfly was dreaming the life of him. So the argument goes that there's no real way to determine whether or not everything you experience outside of your own mind is a dream, or whether or not you're just a brain in a jar being fed simulations by some evil scientist. But we can still think of the probability of whether or not we live in a simulation, and it's more likely than you may think. No, that'd be too obvious if it did that. Our existential crisis starts with accepting just 2 assertions. The first is that everything that you experience, everything that happens in your brain, is at some level information processing that could, in theory, be replicated by technology. Nothing immaterial or magical. Most scientists agree that this is the case. The second assertion is that one day, because of this basis, future humans might be able to create simulations that are so good it would be like running human.exe. Simulated minds living in simulated environments without knowing that they are simulated. Kind of like Rick and Morty's Roy. If those 2 assertions hold true, then if at any point future humans can run simulations that are like us, and we can't determine what is reality anyway, those simulations are bound to outnumber the single base reality, meaning that by the numbers alone, we probably live in one of those. But future humans running these simulations is just one possibility. Philosopher Nick Bostrom is the one who popularized this simulation situation with the essay, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation, published in 2003. He thinks it comes down to a trilemma. Because it seems like technology is headed in the direction of better and better simulations, either humanity ends before we can run these simulations, humanity can run these simulations but chooses not to because the NPCs that we'd create would think and feel and then might have rights, or we live in a simulation. It has to be one of these. I'm sorry. And Bostrom doesn't think that the part that puts us in a simulation is the least likely option either, like 0.1% or 1%. He figures our chances of being in a simulation right now are between 20 and 50%. Think about it this way. The trilemma, if you accept those terms, unless future humans never run simulations that are like us, people that have experiences like us, then chances are we are simulations inside of a simulation right now. Like good chances. You can...
Am I in a simulation? Why can't I escape? Infinity room! It's like that scene in The Matrix, but The Matrix 2, it wasn't as good.
But of course, this all still comes down to processing power. Could we ever simulate everything you experience, everyone around us, everything we see? Bostrom is pretty optimistic about this. He assumes that when future humans reach a certain stage of technological progress, we'll be able to do very singularity-like things, like turn entire planets into computers. Okay, kind of supervillainy, dude, but all right, sure. Based on the physical limitations in media that we know of for information processing, a computer like this could perform 10 million trillion operations per second. Now, if 100 billion humans have ever lived, and on average each human lives for 50 years, and there's 30 million seconds in a year, that's rent, don't sue me, and estimates for the human brain put the operations per second at somewhere between trillions and quadrillions, and you divide that by the processing power of an entire planet, then you could simulate all of human history without using more than a millionth of the total processing power for this planet. And it might not even take that much processing power. If our simulation was run like a video game, then NPCs, everyone around you, might only be simulated just enough so that they seem sentient.
My man.
Thanks. Or the world, if you didn't see it or interact with it, wouldn't have to be loaded to save on processing power. What if to save on processing power, I didn't exist until you clicked on this video? What if we're a simulation inside of a simulation? Then where is base reality? Am I just in your head? Do you even have a head? Oh no! So, are we all simulations? Well, if you accept the fact that future humans might be able to run simulations that are as good as this, then yes, there is a non-zero, very real chance that right now you are a simulation living inside of a simulation thinking about how you are simulated. Sounds scary, but does it matter? No. This is still reality to us, and we still have experiences that matter to us. And in an uncaring universe, I think that's the most we can ask for. And if we are simulations right now, that means that future humans didn't go extinct, which is cool. And the best way to figure out how they set up our reality would still be to rise above, to focus on science. Because of science. Thank you so much for watching, Claire. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at SciFile, where you can tweet me ideas for future episodes, and on Instagram under the same handle, where I'm posting mini episodes of this show. If you want even more of me, but just higher quality, check out projectalpha.com and my new show, The Space Program, where I go to fictional worlds and try to explain them. And if you want even more silliness, check out my new show with my colleague Dan Casey called Let's Coach, where we get very silly about a very serious man. Thanks.
And thanks again to Audible for sponsoring today's episode. Audible has an incredible selection of audiobooks, original shows, news, comedy, and so much more. I'd recommend checking out A Wrinkle in Time before the Ava DuVernay film comes out next year because it looks great, and Audible is the best place to find it. To get an audiobook and 30-day free trial of Audible, head over to audible.com/because it's that easy.
Wait, Morty. If the sun's outside of the planet's atmosphere, Morty, then how can we hear it scream? You know that there's no medium like air in between the sun and the earth, Morty. So sound waves can't travel because they're pressure waves. Because they're pressure waves, Morty. So if the sun, even if it was screaming, you wouldn't be able to hear it. Try not to think about it.